Hello. There's a beautiful quote by T.S. Elliot. It's about exploration. And he says, "We shall never cease from exploration. And at the end of all our exploring will be to arrive at the place where we started and know the place for the first time." I haven't done a video in the last maybe couple of months, and now I'm going through another phase. And this time, the phase is not deeper or more philosophical or more wider. It's just that I'm going back to where it all began. And I'm knowing that place for the first time. So what I'm saying is, even though T.S. Eliot mentions this, that it's at the end of all our exploring will be to arrive at the same place where you started off and know it for the first time, this is exactly what's happening. And this is exactly where I am right now. Where I'm not where I truly am, but where I'm striving to be. You know, I did a video some time back about solitude, and in that video I digressed quite a lot, and I was talking about the different kind of phases that I have been in the last maybe 6 years. So what's happening right now is I've actually gone back to where it all began, because that's the most important, fundamental, basic state of mind that I have to be in. No matter how much I gather and gain knowledge, no matter how much I read and study and increase this thing called consciousness or awareness or open-mindedness or being flexible, the more I can do that, there's one key element that has to be developed all the time, and that's positive thinking. Positive thinking, which is where I began the journey of inquiry and personal development and raising consciousness, actualization, increasing awareness. All this started just with one key aspect, which is positive thinking. You know, in that book when I read, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, he was talking about the mind being like a garden, and if you did not take care of this garden, you know, unwanted weeds can grow, and it can pollute this garden of the mind. And something that really shook the very core of my being was when the author says, "You truly cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought, not even one, not even one." And what's been happening in the last few months is, as much as I am growing and developing internally, you know, mentally, my mind has been growing and developing and understanding a lot of things, but at the same time there are some aspects of my life which are not congruent with the ideal state that we are all looking for. You know, it's very important to work on this thing called the thoughts and the mind, but it's equally important to work on this thing called our feelings and our emotions. It's equally also important to work on this thing called the physiological body, whether that's with exercise or with diet or with the rest. Obviously there has to be a constant innovative development has to happen in the field of connectedness. Not just yourself, but this connectedness with everything outside of yourself. That includes people, and that includes the environment, the earth, the trees and the plants, the birds and the animals, the insects and everything. So all these things have to be developed constantly, continuously. And what has been happening, at least in the last few months, is one of the key aspects that I have been neglecting is this aspect of optimism and positive thinking and positive feeling and having faith, instead of constantly ranting and criticizing and finger pointing. I'm finding this eagerness and this need for me to go back to where it all began, and that's to positive thinking. And when I say positive thinking, it includes a whole lot of things. It includes open-mindedness. It includes flexibility. It includes enthusiasm. It includes having faith. It includes trusting. It includes thankfulness, which is a big, big, mega component of the thing called positive thinking. Gratitude. Which, now some of these things are something that I have been struggling with in the past few months. I'm not sure if it was the job that I was in, the kind of people that I was interacting with, but I allowed these negative influences to cause a kind of a jeopardy in the state, in the ideal state that I've always wanted to be in. I no longer work with that company that I used to work with because it was constantly being in a space of negativity and complaints. So I decided to leave. So for the last couple of weeks, I'm just in a space of reflection and contemplation. And the one thing that I keep coming back to is positive thinking, happiness. Happiness, just good old-fashioned being happy. Is it an easy thing to do? Not at all. It's not. The moment you make that choice to become happy or to stay positive, there are bound to be constant situations that will challenge you. And that's the beauty of life. It's easy to be positive and happy and as Robin Sharma says, lead when things are going fine. But the real challenge comes when the what's that expression? When the rug is pulled from underneath, when the rug is pulled from beneath you, when situations begin to challenge you, when people and their comments begin to challenge us. Do we have the ability, the mindset, the heart set to stay positive at that point in time? It is difficult, but that's the only thing we can do. The only thing we can constantly work on is our inner self, is in the way we think, is in the way we emote and we feel. Our attitude, our mental attitude is probably at the heart of all this. Optimism and positive thinking and having a pleasing attitude is all very important. Am I in that space? I have not been in that space for the last few months, for the last couple of months, maybe even 2 or 3 months. And I can feel that. I can feel the disconnectedness with the being that I have been in for the past many years. And has this stopped me from doing the things that I have been doing in the last 5 to 6 years? It hasn't. It hasn't actually, because this is also part of the learning and part of the phases that each and every one of us go through. And it's important to accept and include this phase as well. I'm not calling this phase as a negative phase, which is totally that I would like to exclude out of my life. Not at all. This is something that I have to include as well, because we are all in this journey of raising consciousness and raising awareness and developing ourselves internally and personally, which is what we are doing on an ongoing, continuous basis. And each and every aspect, each and every phase has to be included. You know, when there is a disconnect, when there is a disconnect, when you are not fully including your negative state of mind, that is the cause of the concern. Because if you are in a state of heightened awareness, then you should be able to include any negative situations that happen or negative people that we encounter. So I have to include all the negativity that has happened in the last few months, because as Robin Sharma says, KMF, keep moving forward. It's all about constantly moving forward. Can I change the past? Absolutely not. You know, we've heard of this thing called you can do anything. Yeah, it's a beautiful one-liner. But can you actually change the past? We cannot. The past is actually only in our minds. But that's me again being philosophical. But to be pragmatic, to be able to live in this world which is so wonderful, optimism and having faith and the trust in oneself, and stay in a frame of positive thinking and positive feeling as much as possible, as much as one can possibly be in that frame, the better it is. Being happy, not just happy in the sense an empty happiness. It has to be a deep sense of enthusiasm. This happiness has to come from the deepest core of yourself. Enthusiasm is a wonderful state of being. It includes happiness, but it also includes open-mindedness. It includes flexibility. It includes love and joy and peace, and it includes positive thinking. It includes open-mindedness. It includes inclusiveness and acceptance. It includes curiosity. And it includes thankfulness and gratitude. So that's it for me. I will keep sharing some of these things as I go. Thank you so much for sticking with me. And I will catch you next time. Thank you very much.